years ago.
Yes.
So I actually brought an original copy. Here it is of his first on-screen performance in a film called Tarantula. Tarantula. Yes, that is the original Super 8 from the 60s right there. So you were probably...
Destroys everything in its path.
Yes, followed by none other than The Spider, 50 Tons of Creeping Black Horror. That's another one for you. It gets even better on VHS. The Deadly Mantis.
Oh, there's nothing in here.
Well, hey, it is just for looks, but thanks for
okay.
thanks for
busting
destroying
you
that.
on air.
Thanks for destroying the facade. You know, by the way, just so you know, half the movie sets on backlots don't have anything behind them either. Thank you. Here's just this is not pest control related, but
they're
it's just
horrible creatures.
Oh, well, see, that was going to be the topic we were talking about today. Yeah, they're pretty crazy. And then, of course, we cannot overlook Vincent Price and The Fly.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's a real
That
deal.
was years ago.
It is my daughter's favorite movie.
Oh,
Vincent Price
goodness.
lives on. Yeah.
Oh, I know Vincent Price.
And then just in case you're afraid of some oceanic pests,
Claw
the claw
monsters.
monsters.
I like to eat them.
Yeah, they're pretty tasty. What about flies? You ever had flies? Or you ever eaten an insect? 80% of the world eats insects as a source of protein. Have you ever had one?
What kind of insect?
I don't know. You seem like a very well-traveled woman. Have you ever eaten
Do you like chocolate?
Oh, I love chocolate.
Then you've eaten insects.
Then I love dark chocolate.
Really?
Dark chocolate. That's my favorite.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So anyway, these next time I come, what I'm going to do is I'm fixing up my third Super 8 machine, and maybe I'll bring this. I got this really cool machine from the 50s and the 60s that actually projects it onto a small screen so it looks like a television, and it plays these little 500-foot reels.
Oh, look at that.
You know, yeah, exactly. It plays the little 8mm reels.
Oh my goodness.
Just like old school. You remember this in junior high? See, you're going back right now. Pretty awesome.
Junior high.
Yeah.
I won't tell you the date I was in junior high. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I'll fall off the chair.
Yeah. So anyway, pretty awesome, huh? Is that a throwback or what?
Wow. Good glory.
Yeah. Good glory. I'm going to use that phrase today. Just like in elementary school.
The spider, it must eat you to live.
Yeah. Pretty crazy, huh?
Tarantula.
Ah, it's pretty rad. My favorite is the Deadly Mantis, but hey, that's just me. So anyway, enough fun. That was just a little opener for you, just because you're cool.
Oh, thank you.
Where did you find these?
Oh, I've been an enthusiast for a long time. In fact, I was just talking to the people over at SCV TV about that today, about possibly getting some kind of cool little segment going, because in the old days, VHS didn't exist. It was invented in 1984, but people don't realize this. Film was projected in movie theaters on 35mm prints, like all the way up until, the early 2000s and so on and so forth. Even in some places, they'll play film. But other organizations like churches, universities, things like that could only afford 16mm prints, which were almost exactly half the size. And then if you were at home, because film was expensive, you could only really afford 8mm reels, and you couldn't even afford the whole length of the film. Okay, so they would make digests. So this film right here is The Day the Earth Stood Still, right? The reel film would take up 12 or 13 of these reels, and you would have to constantly be reloading your projector, which was inconvenient and also very expensive. To get the entire film on film, you'd have a stack of reels this thick, which I have. I have an original print of Night of the Living Dead from 1964. I have an original print of, I think it's Metropolis, its first home release on 8mm film. I have a lot of these, right? But for the average person, you would get, just like you got book orders and those little pamphlets when we were kids in elementary school, and your mom would fill out the book order and then write a check, and then the books would come in the next day, and it was like,
from the bookmobile.
Yeah, from the bookmobile. Exactly. Well, they had a home order catalog of digests that would truncate and abridge the film down to about 7.5 minutes for a film this big. If you're watching The Deadly Mantis, not on VHS, which is full length, but you're watching on one of these 50-foot reels, like this, the movie was truncated down to literally 2.5 minutes. And it was hilarious because, for example, you'd get the opening credits, and in Rodan versus Godzilla, for example, one of the 60s classic, monster movies.
Toho.
Yeah, the old Toho flicks, exactly. It would say, for example, they discover Godzilla off the coast of Tokyo, and all of a sudden you'd see Godzilla coming out of the water. And then the narrator would be like, whoa, Godzilla's angry. And then it would just show like the, Godzilla smashing all of the buildings. And they would just take the most memorable scenes and put them in a 2.5 minute, a 7 minute, or a 14-minute reel that was more affordable. So you would watch literally the Reader's Digest version. Just like there's Reader's Digest versions of books that are shorter and abridged versions of books that are shorter. These were abridged films. So you kind of got the gist of the film without watching the whole thing.
Like a trailer.
Kind of like a trailer, but this was like the feature film. So I got them for Star Wars. I have them for all the old Keystone Cops movies. Everything from controversial films like Birth of a Nation, the first one showed in the White House, all the way to original prints as late as, this one's crazy, the latest one that I have gotten my hands on is Michael Bay's 2001 film Pearl Harbor. All the way into the 21st century, they were still making digests and 8mm prints of film so people could watch them on home projectors. Into the early 2000s, they were still doing this.
Wow.
Isn't that nuts? Yeah.
That is.
So anyway, which one's your favorite?
I don't have a favorite because I don't like anything that crawls. No, thank you.
The
Anything
deadly
that
mantis.
crawls.
That one looks pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty rad. You ever seen one in real life?
So
Oh,
the praying
those-
mantis are the ones that have like their arms up, right?
Yeah,
they look like they're
I've-
ready for battle.
Yeah, I've seen those. Those have been in my backyard before.
Yeah.
Not
pretty
for a
awesome.
long, long time, but I haven't seen one for a long time. But
I just
Oh.
saw a little baby one in my yard, about an inch tall, and they're very cute when they're
Yeah,
small.
they're super cute. Yeah, dude.
It's when they grow up a little bit and they're intimidating.
Nah. So anyway, that's all I got for you. We can just continue with the rest of the show. You can ask me questions. Do whatever you want. It's yours.
Lord.
You know.
So, what's the most prevalent pest now?
Oh, nowadays, like right now,
Right now?
all those kids doing the TikTok dances,
Yeah.
like in the middle of Main Street.
Exactly.
I literally had to like slow down because some
Did you
girl
spray them?
was pulling a selfie while doing some horrible dance.
Oh,
And
you've
my-
got to be kidding me.
My only problem with the TikTok dances, yeah, unfortunately we can't spray them. But you know what I say? That like sometimes I want to just like,
I don't know. I think I'd drive by and I'd do
know.
it myself.
oh, that's brutal. Would you open up the door? Just
No, I'd
as you
open up the
drive
window.
by?
Knock them
I'd
over.
open up the window.
I watched Peaky Blinders, man. I know how
Sweet.
harsh those Brits can be.
What's a Peaky Blinder?
Oh, it's a very popular
Oh.
Netflix show about like gangsters in what, the 20s?
Turn of the century. Yeah, 20s.
Yeah, like,
Right after World War One.
yeah, right after World War I, all the gangsters in England, like like your grandparents' friends and your uncle's
Yeah.
buddies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. So
all
most
all I remember were the bombs dropping,
yeah, that's pretty hardcore.
the buzz bombs. Shoot those buzz bombs down, boys. Shoot those buzz bombs down. Hitler's secret weapon. Shoot those buzz bombs down. First you hear the engine, then you hear it stop, then you see it gliding, then you hear it pop.
Whoa! That was incredible. Was that like an old propaganda instructional educational
No,
film?
we used to sing it when we'd be in the streets watching the buzz bombs fly over.
Whoa! So it was
The kids.
I'm usually pretty familiar with World War II stuff, but buzz bombs, I've never heard that specific colloquialism. Was it a type of bomb that was meant to glide?
Yes.
So it could
When the
do-
fire stopped and the sound stopped, it started coming down, and you never knew where it was going to explode.
It was
land and
an
explode.
autonomous drone. So
Whoa!
yeah, jet jet engine drone. And Spitfires could take them down,
Yes,
but
they
it was like you were an ace if you knocked one of these out of the sky, because they're basically a rocket
Yeah.
being shot from France over the channel. And when the engine died, it just dropped and exploded on
When
whatever.
the fire stopped and the
Whoa.
engine
Yeah,
died,
yeah.
it would just start gliding. You never knew where it was going to. We could see him coming across. We stand in the middle of the street, shoot those buzz bombs down, boys, shoot those buzz bombs down.
Whoa! You are so cool. Forget anything I just brought and put in front of the table. Forget Charles Bronson. Forget Vincent Price. They're all posers. Forget the deadly mantis. You are the coolest person in Santa Clarita. And I say that with the mayor listening. Actually, I don't know which one is the mayor right now. That's a good question, you know?
Who cares, personally?
Actually, is it still Jason Gibbs? If
Think
so.
so.
I thought it was
no idea.
Cameron
Smythe?
Smythe.
No, I think
could
it's
be.
Jason Gibbs.
But I think he's ready to leave
Who
the
knows?
seat.
Well, I
soon.
think even Jason Gibbs would cede the coolness grounds to the person that just sung the
course.
Buzz Bombs song. You know what I'm saying? So you've got it today. You've got it today.
Okay, I'll
All
take
right,
it.
rock on. So most prevalent pest. You asked me what the most prevalent
Yes.
pest is. Nowadays, gosh, it's rodents. We're still in rodent season, you know, but we got some really cool ones that are about to come out of the ground. Jerusalem crickets. Oh, you ever heard of those
Not
things?
moles.
No, we do have moles, but
Yeah.
moles are carnivorous and they eat the
Bugs,
worms in the
yeah.
soil and
Yes,
the
they
grubs
do.
and so on and so forth. They're not super prevalent right now, but we do treat for those. And one of the things they eat, and the reason why they're about to get more active, is because they're active when they're breeding, and we're coming up on spring here pretty soon. So have you had a mole problem in the
No.
past at your house?
No.
Well, you might this year, because the most popular anti-mole active ingredient just got outlawed by Gavin Newsom a couple of months ago. And so the industry is adapting to that, and we're getting a lot more calls. They're about to start breeding, be very happy breeders, and they're very active during the spring while they are breeding. And Jerusalem crickets. Have you ever heard of Jerusalem crickets? Do you know what they are?
Are they the ones that return every 7 years, or am I thinking of the
Cicadas,
cicadas?
yeah.
Okay.
Okay, cicadas make a bunch of noise, but here
They
I am
kind
gonna-
of look like them.
Okay.
They're freaky
That might be why I'm
looking.
confusing. Yeah. And
Okay.
they leave their carcass behind,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah, pretty awesome,
God.
huh?
Disgusting.
Like, yeah, you ever seen one of these when you're out hiking in Towsley Canyon or you're in Central Park or anything like that where there's dirt? That's called a Jerusalem cricket. Looks a little bit like an alien from a sci-fi movie. You know what I'm saying?
Ooh.
Yeah.
He has a stinger.
Is
Is that a
it's-
stinger?
yeah.
It looks like it has a stinger. It looks like it's got crazy aggressive mandibles. It looks like it's frankly kind of like those really mean aggressive bugs in Starship Troopers. You know what I'm saying? It looks like a fusion of all
What's
the
a
weird
Starship Trooper?
Starship Troopers. Well, some might call it peak early 2000s sci-fi, but it was a science fiction movie, not too different from Them, the movie about the killer ants that came out in the 50s. It's about basically humanity trying to survive against this super race of crazy insects.
Giant
They're
insects.
giant insects
On another planet.
On another planet.
But somehow they were able to hurl meteorites towards Earth.
Yes, and Denise Richards saved the day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like, you know, it's sci-fi when you got the when you got the blonde babe just running down in
And the Busey kid.
So
you know what I'm saying? Yeah, exactly. You're not missing much in sci-fi recently. Let's stick with the 50s stuff. You know what I'm saying?
I don't watch sci-fi.
Well,
Never
Starship
have.
Troopers was cool.
Oh.
I have to say that because probably half the people that worked on the movie live in this town. But anyway, yeah, Jerusalem crickets, they're going to come out. And what's cool is their heads are probing. See how they can get through the dirt like that? See how all of these
Ooh.
guys' heads are in the dirt?
They
Well,
look horrible.
Yeah.
I
They,
hope I don't find any in my yard.
Well, I hope you do because then you'll freak out and you'll call me. It'll be my excuse to come and visit you and we'll play the Deadly Mantis together. You know? Or Vincent Price and The Fly, whatever works, right? So you know how people put up little fences to keep the rattlesnakes out? Have you noticed that? Anybody that's around the golf course, anybody that lives?
No. How
like-
low does a fence have to be to keep a snake out?
It's not necessarily the height. I mean, it is a function of height. But just because you make it several inches or even a foot taller doesn't mean that a longer snake can't get over it. It's actually the angle Snakes are like rattlesnakes, for example, um, are amazing creatures. They're basically pit vipers that have evolved into being the perfect assassins of the desert. They can see through temperature. They have sensory organs that are so acute that when they look at you, it's kind of like how Predator, this is another great movie reference, you know, in the original Predator from the late 80s, early 90s, how he could see with infrared vision where people were. And that's why Arnold Schwarzenegger had to cover himself in the nasty mud so that the Predator would walk past him and not sense that he was there. Well, they can see life kind of like Predator to 1/1000th of a degree Fahrenheit. So when they look at you, they can even see where the blood is pumping in your veins and arteries underneath your
Ooh.
skin. That's what many people have suspected is how acute their sensory organs are. And their teeth continually grow and they can sense the pheromones of their prey. So if there's a lot of mice around or if there's a lot of insects that they can eat, especially when they're younger, sometimes people have snake activity. So what we do to avoid that is they're not a registered pest species. So, you know, you can't just go out and exterminate them. Also, that's kind of a fool's errand. The number one place that people get bit is on the right hand. I think while drunk is the statistic that I've heard before, that like
They
most
grab 'em?
snake bites happen, because I don't remember the exact stats, so I don't want to misquote myself, but I just know that the stats are horrible and not in favor of drunk right-handed males. You know what I'm saying? Just being males.
Funny.
But so what we do to avoid them is you can install a snake fence, which basically goes underground a certain distance and then angles outwards so nothing will burrow. And then it goes upwards, and then there's this flashing that is installed, which is a little piece of curved or angled metal that angles outwards, because snakes, they're incredible. They can go up a wall. Literally, as long as they are muscular enough to be able to support their own weight, they can totally go up a wall. But if the flashing bends them backwards, they can't go backwards and then back up and over.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you install flashing there. So yeah, moles are coming, gophers are coming. It's going to be super fun. The Jerusalem crickets are coming. The regular crickets are coming. The black widows, just like this guy, except for this one's got a skull in the
No,
face
thank you.
instead of a regular black widow. They're all coming. It's going to be a fun spring.
Not
Wet.
for me, if that's the case. No, thank you.
So we didn't even get to anything.
Yeah. Well, maybe next time, right?
Wow.
Okay, so quick, Unipest,
Uh-huh.
kind of eco-friendly, environmentally
Very much so,
friendly.
yeah, totally.
Okay, so real quick, what is the most important point about trying to deal with pests in an environmentally friendly way? Why'd you choose it? Why do you do it? And you've got less than a minute.
Oh, well, hey, you only need 10 seconds. Do the least amount possible to reach the nuisance threshold of the person. I don't show up with a crop duster. You know what I'm saying? We just kind of analyze the situation, figure out what the least impactful way to mitigate their issue is, and then we execute on that. And it's a lot of fun. It's a super fun business when you get to learn about all these bugs and these pest populations, and then how to make sure that they're kind of living in their place over there as we live in our place over here in an effective and safe manner.
Thank
So,
you, Cardon.
how do we reach you?
It's super simple. You can call us at 661-BUG-7575. That's 661-284-7575.
And through a computer, unipest.com?
Yep. www.unipest.com, or while you're doing your TikTok dance and you're crossing the street in front of my car on Main Street, you can just give me a shout out and holler and wave me down.
Okie dokie dokie. We will do that. Time for a break. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. Welcome back to the Senior Hour. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS. And our next guest now is someone I haven't seen in years. Adam Laraway from Focus Physical Therapy.
Good afternoon.
Good to
how are
see you again.
Good to see you
It's
again.
been such a long time.
I know, right? For sure. You came to see me this week, so we got a little bit to talk about.
Yes, we do. It was very interesting.
What did you find interesting about it?
The actual procedure,
Yeah.
all the different things you did and the things you stuck on my feet and on my arms and it was very interesting. And the feelings that I felt,
Yeah. Yeah.
especially in my feet,
For sure. Yeah.
it was very interesting.
So we did an evaluation and kind of looked at what things needed to be worked on and that type of
Yes.
stuff. And then we did use the Neubie, which is kind of my, my trademark product that I use or a piece of equipment that helps me figure things out. And we did what was called a master reset with you, to try and stimulate your nervous system to get it to heal, especially with everything that you've been through over the last, year or so. So what we did is we used the Neubie, which is called direct current, and we stimulated your vagus nerve, which is responsible for the balance. And I'm gonna use some medical terminology here, but there's two kind of parts to your nervous system in the autonomic nervous system called the parasympathetic and the sympathetic.
Right.
And so the sympathetic is your fight or flight system. So if you're being chased by a dog, that sympathetic system kicks in and it's either I'm going to fight this dog or I'm getting the heck out of there.
Yeah, right.
Hopefully you're getting the heck out of
Yeah.
there. So, but your body, when it does that, it releases adrenaline and cortisol and all these different, chemicals to give you, super speed and get your body and get you up and moving and out of there. But which is great. We need that system.
Yes.
But when you're in pain or for different reasons, sometimes your system can get stuck in that sympathetic system. And so the other half of that system is your parasympathetic, which is your rest, your recovery, your digest system. And so when you eat food, your parasympathetic should then stimulate to help, release hormones and chemicals in your stomach to help with that digestion. When you're sleeping, your body should then healing all your tissues and, cataloging your memories from the day and that type of stuff. And so that parasympathetic system helps with that rest kind of recovery digest is kind of the layman's terms. And so we want to make sure that that system is balanced,
Yes.
so somebody that has a stressor, whether it be daily life or, pain or whatever, when that stimulus is gone, we want the system then to recover so that it comes and balances itself out. It's really interesting when like animals do that, they like say a gazelle's being chased by a cheetah. When they know it's safe, they go through a process where they literally shake out, and that's that stimulating that parasympathetic system to get rid of all that chemical stuff that they don't need anymore. But we don't really do that. I mean,
No.
you could. I mean, you could shake out and do all these, scream, whatever, to kind of get your system back in check. But the cool thing with the Neubie is we can actually stimulate that system to help with recovery. And so that's what we did with you. We put 2 pads on your neck and 2 on your feet, and we're running that direct current through your whole system. And it helps to calibrate and stimulate that nerve to get the parasympathetic system to boost up and give you better recovery. And that's how we use that in physical therapy, is that we use it to help, stimulate. People are coming to us in pain, or they're recovering from a surgery, or maybe they have some kind of disease or something like that, and we can help stimulate that recovery. And so that was what we did with you on the first session.
Well, it was very interesting. Very interesting. And I went to see Dr. Black the other day,
Uh-huh.
and he checked all my vitals and saw my blood tests and everything. And he said, I have to tell you, you are in incredibly good health
For sure.
for your age
Absolutely.
and what you've been through.
Yeah. And we saw that, remember? So we started the examination after we did your subjective, where I kind of asked you what we were going to work on, but then
Right.
I ran the heart rate variability test. And, that gave us some information of kind of how your system was balanced between that parasympathetic and sympathetic. It actually gives me there's a computer program that tells me kind of what that balance is with your system, and tells me how your body is able to process hormones and how much inflammation is going on and all these different factors. And yours was really pretty good, which we were excited about.
Yes, yes,
sure.
absolutely. Well, I'll just keep on trucking or keep on padding or whatever I do.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and it's been a lot of fun. Like we use the Master Reset with pretty much every patient, not everyone, but a lot of them. I do it on myself a couple times a week. And it's interesting, when I first started to learn about it, if I'm being honest, I was a little skeptical about it. I was like, really, is this what it says they're going to do? But I was a believer in the other part of the technology that we were using. And so I kept doing it. And I had an old football injury in my knee, and my knee had popped for 30 years. And when I was in PT school, we tried to get rid of it. We mobed it and stretched it and strengthened and all kinds of stuff, but it never changed. And it wasn't painful. It just, when I would squat down, we would hear it pop. And I had been doing the reset for several months, and all of a sudden, the pads are on my feet and my neck, and my knee started tingling. And I was like, I remember like 5 sessions in a row of like, why is that tingling there? And I literally sat up and like kind of scratched my knee and kind of was like, why is that tingling there? And then after that time, I went to squat down to demonstrate a squat for a patient, and my knee didn't click. And I was like, that's strange. I mean, I've had that for 30 some years. And yeah, so that it doesn't click anymore. So I don't know, if, I guess my theory is it's essentially going from your brain stem where the vagus nerve is and going through your whole body on coming out through your feet, and it looks for those fires that need to be put out, and so in my case I didn't have anything else going on, so it repaired whatever was damaged in that knee that was causing the click, and it's gone, and I haven't had it now for 4 years, which is crazy to me.
That is. Well, it's interesting between your treatments and the treatments I get from Dr. Polucki,
Yeah.
because he's not the run-of-the-mill chiropractor.
Right.
He
Yep.
doesn't grab hold of you and crack you and twist you and turn you. He's completely different.
Yeah.
Completely different and more effective,
For sure. Yeah.
right?
Well,
Well, I think so.
Yeah.
But I might be a little biased there.
right. Well, and I think though that's why we kind of complement each other. We do different things, but we have the same philosophy that we need to get the system to get it back into a normal balanced
Yeah.
state, and we have different tools. Dr. Polucki has different tools than I do, and it's great to have kind of those tools that are kind of thinking outside the box, because unfortunately our healthcare system right now,
Yeah.
they just want to diagnose and adios, give you a prescription and send you on your way. And that's a lot of times not fixing the problem. It's just masking the symptom.
Yeah.
So we could go on a big tangent there, but we
Yeah.
probably shouldn't.
Well, I think it's safe to say, even in this environment, that restoring function it shifts the conversation from chronic management of compounding symptoms. And sometimes the symptoms are brought on by the treatments of treating symptoms. Most chronic illnesses is a little scary. 70% of seniors have at least one chronic condition, and 20% of seniors are on 5 prescription medications at any given time. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
That's a lot. And, it would be one thing if we had really great statistics to support that model of healthcare.
Right.
But we don't. We don't. We
Right.
pay more in this country than any other country does. And we're not even close to getting our money's worth as
For
far
sure.
as that's concerned.
Yeah.
There's 50 countries that have better health statistics than we do in the
Really?
United States. And I don't know about you, but I can't name 50 countries off the top of my head.
Oh, no.
Right,
Good
yeah.
I mean,
heavens.
I'm hard pressed after okay, there's Germany and France and Japan, and they're all kicking our butt. They're like at the top of the scale, and we're literally at the bottom. We're fighting with third world countries in our health statistics. I mean, the important ones: longevity, birth rate, mortality. I mean, like real numbers, and we can't support it. So the most recent hard statistic out there is, well, how'd everybody do with the pandemic? And you think with everything that we went through over the past 4 years, we'd have some pretty good statistics to support all that. But we don't. We don't. We didn't do better than anybody out there. I mean, nobody out there. So the reason that our passion is restoring function instead of just chasing symptoms is because chasing symptoms is always going to be the most effective, the most expensive and least effective approach towards any health condition out there. And unfortunately, it's the overwhelming majority of our healthcare system is chasing symptoms.
Chasing symptoms.
Yeah, but somehow Adam and I, got hit by the same,
bug.
epiphany
Yeah.
at one point that, we don't want to do that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's where we overlap. There's a lot of overlap in what we do. We just have different tools in our bag.
For sure. For sure.
Interesting. So now, what happens now for my next treatment?
Well, so we had some other issues that we have to address
Yeah,
with the
but
with the
what will
yeah.
happen when I
But
get
so
my
the next time we
treatment?
would bring you in, we're going to map you. So we'll use the Neubie again a little bit differently than we did on the first time, and we'll map your legs and your feet to kind of figure out where your brain is sending a signal and trying to help with the peripheral neuropathy symptoms, to see if we can figure out, or we will figure out where your brain is sending a signal that's maybe causing either like a blockage or there's some no activation, something like that. And then we'll probably do what's called a foot bath, where we put your foot in a bucket of water and then we put the Neubie electrodes in the water. So we electrify the water, and then we're going to go through and try and stimulate that nervous system to help with the peripheral neuropathy, the numbness and the tingling in your feet.
Wow.
And they're actually getting ready, really cool stuff. This, just in the last couple months, I got a whole bunch of data, but they're going to be publishing a study. So they did a double-blind study, which is what we want to see. But with 12 sessions of the Neubie, doing foot bath only compared to doing a TENS treatment, which is a different form of electricity, the Neubie was able to show improvements in what our kind of gold standard for peripheral neuropathy is the nerve conduction velocity test. So they showed improvements in that conductivity. So we know that it's kind of an objective test where they run electricity from one point to another point. It improved, and it also was able to show axonal regeneration, which means the nerve was actually regrowing in the feet. So that's what is really exciting. I want to see the published study, but I have the preliminary data from the study. So, but that's pretty cool, because peripheral neuropathy is one that has been a pretty good challenge for our healthcare industry to treat. They have medications that take the edge out, but they really don't fix the problem. They don't improve it that much. But with this data and the improvements that we saw in only 12 sessions is pretty amazing. So I'm excited to read the study once it's published.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had one patient, this is years ago, that they had a back surgery and they had numbness on their foot. So like they couldn't feel their sock, they couldn't feel the ground when they would put their foot on the ground. And I did a foot bath with them on their first session. And when they came out, so 15-minute treatment, and when they got their foot out of the water and they went to put their sock on, they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can feel my sock." And then they stood up and they were like, "Oh my gosh, I can feel like the bottom of my foot on the ground." And sometimes it is that quick. Other times it takes a lot longer. I know we've talked about in the past, I had the patient that had pancreatic cancer. It took me 6 months, but I got complete resolution of all those symptoms of the numbness and tingling in the hands and feet, and they'd had that for 8 years. And that one took a lot longer, but we saw kind of that slow, steady improvement, which was really, really cool. And off pain medication and back to playing pickleball and hiking and doing yoga and that type of stuff, which they hadn't done in 8 years. So that was pretty cool.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So cool stuff.
Amazing. Yeah, so the combination of you two
Yeah.
are going to get me in even better health.
There you
There
go.
you go.
For sure. For sure. And it's nice to have that compliment, that he's got different tools, because some of those tools will help do what I'm doing, and hopefully some of the tools that I do will help with what he's doing.
Well, I liked his treatment mode because he doesn't put me on a table and twist me and crack me and I think, oh, I'm going to fall off the table, help, you
Right,
know.
yeah.
And in the meantime, he's doing this and this and this and that's why I go to him.
Yep, there you
I
go.
used to go to somebody else who did that, and it was terrifying, absolutely terrifying.
That doesn't sound very therapeutic.
No,
You're coming
well,
in scared.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
That's
because
why
I
you need
was-
a master reset, because your nervous system, you were in fight or flight. You're like, get me out of here.
That's true. Well, we need to take a break, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Okay. I'm Barbara Cochran with my co-host, Dr. Thomas Polucki, on your hometown station, 98.1 FM, AM 1220 KHTS.
Welcome back to the Senior Hour on KHTS 98.1 FM, AM 1220, hometownstation.com. In the studio, we have Adam Laraway from Focus Physical Therapy. And, we're neighbors. and we're of the same mindset as far as there's always going to be a place for emergency medicine. I mean, we're never going to escape that. And on top of that, there's always going to be a place for pain management. But when pain management is the primary mode of healthcare instead of getting to the root of the problem and restoring normal function, we start running into some problems. And that's why I got into a more functional approach. And I would imagine, Adam, you have a similar story, but
Oh, for sure.
let me hear it from you.
Yeah. Well, before, so I've been working with the Neubie for about 5 years, which is really my main kind of method now of treating patients because it's so successful. But, I've been a PT for 24 years and almost 24 years. And, like I really didn't like the chasing the pain, and, I could make somebody feel great, but then sometimes they'd come back, with the same problem that I saw them last time with. And so early on in my career, I realized like, okay, something's not right here. I can stretch, strengthen, manual therapy, whatever. But if I'm not getting to the underlying problem, that muscle's tight for a reason, but it's probably due to a compensation of maybe weakness elsewhere. And so I did a lot of continuing education courses and stuff like that to really take a look at, the body as a whole. And so like I've had patients where they come in with back pain and I watch them walk and I see, oh, what, your right foot is way overpronating or it's staying supinated or something like that. And I dress the foot and all of a sudden the back pain goes away. And so, that's what I've kind of based my whole career on is looking at, for like a lower body problem, the whole chain, is the back the issue? Is there limitations at the hip, the knee, the ankle? They may come in with back pain, but maybe that's not necessarily where the problem is that's causing the back pain. And so, if a good physical therapist or a good chiropractor is going to take a look at that and try and get to the heart of the problem and figure out what's going on.
Yeah, it's
And
rarely just the symptom.
right, exactly. And from a pain medication standpoint, if you take a pain medication, it blocks the receptors that helps with the pain, but did we address a muscle that's weak or tight or whatever? We didn't. And so that's why, I think we go down that wrong road of like you do the pain medication. Now we're seeing the opioid epidemic that we're seeing is that, because it's not fixing the problem. So now you got all these people that are on these medications and then they start to have side effects. So then, okay, let me give you another medication to combat that side effects. And then that's how they end up on 5 medications, like you had said earlier in the show. And what really sold me on bringing the Neubie into my practice 5 years ago is that the Neubie taps into the nervous system. So when I map you, like we will do next session, when I map your leg, wherever your brain is sending a signal is cause of the problem, when we get over that spot, the intensity goes up because it's duplicating what your brain is doing. And so once we find those spots, then we go through movement patterns and re-educate the brain to shut off those protective mechanisms. And now we're getting to the heart of the problem. I had a gal years ago that was going to go to neck surgery and I mapped her. She had tingling down her arm and I mapped her and I found a spot at her wrist and then in her upper back. And we treated those 2 spots and within 2 sessions, the numbness and tingling was gone and she canceled the neck surgery, that she was going to go to.
Wow.
As a clinician, I would never think like, why is her wrist causing an issue at her neck? That's just not how we're trained as physical therapists. But the Neubie gave me that insight that, well, you just trust the process. We found that spot, and then all of a sudden the symptoms went away. So the Neubie allows me to get to that heart of that problem, and that's why we map when somebody comes in with a knee problem. We don't just map the knee. We map your abdomen, your lower back, your hip, your that whole leg, and then we can figure out where the brain's sending the signal that's causing the problem.
Yeah. Unfortunately, patients don't read the medical textbooks for the most part. They don't know that they're supposed to be laid out a certain way and only this can cause this and that can cause that. So they present with whatever is wrong. And
Right.
Functional doctors take it to the next step and not just cover up the pain. They look at okay, it's not supposed to be like this, but obviously it is.
Yeah.
What do we need to do about it?
Yeah. For sure.
Yeah, let's find out where that pain is coming from.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. But you're right. Most doctors say, okay, take this pill.
Right.
It'll ease it or it'll go away. And most of the time it doesn't.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I had a new patient this week, and I mapped his leg. He came in with sciatica, which I'm sure a lot of people, are familiar with that. Where you get numbness and tingling down the leg. He'd had it for months, and we mapped him. We found a spot in his adductor, which is kind of the inner thigh, and then I'm trying to think where the other spot was. It may have been in his. I think it might have been his in his kind of lower back on the outside there. But literally, we went through after we've mapped and found the spots. We went through about 5 or 6 exercises, kind of movement patterns, and turned off the machine and had him walk around, and the numbness and tingling was gone. And I actually just saw him this morning, and hasn't come back. So that was pretty good stuff,
That's
right?
fantastic. Yeah, it really is.
So yeah, so I mean, after months of having these numbness and tingling sciatic symptoms down the leg, I did the evaluation on Monday, and here we are Wednesday, and have had no symptoms since.
So
that's
Adam,
pretty good.
if people want that,
Yes.
how does someone get in touch with you?
So we are located at 25050 Peachland Avenue, Suite 205. Our phone number is 661-255-4205, and our website is www.focusptscv.com.
Adam Laraway, Focus Physical Therapy. Thank you for being in the studio today. You've been listening to the Senior Hour, KHTS, FM 98.1 AM 1220, hometownstation.com, brought to you by Providence Holy Cross and Comfort Keepers Inn. Now go out and enhance your quality of life.